Personally, I think that the biggest defense against ransomware is definitely going to be user training. Ransomware is definitely preventable, especially to the extent that you see it where they're taking over entire computer systems and networks. But that type of attack usually comes down to some sort of interaction with the user. And so I think that that's why it's very important that you keep your policies updated, that you also keep your users trained and track their training to make sure that they are also being trained regularly. The biggest concern definitely are the targets and their ability to execute these threats against these targets. They're taking over entire medical facilities, entire school networks, and really the biggest result of these attacks are denials of service. So you think about schools, kids have to be sent home from school, and that may or may not be seen as a particularly bad thing. But when you start attacking medical facilities and start limiting people's access to medical and healthcare, then you have a real threat against human life. And to me, that's the highest form of threat. I think the ethical approach is definitely to weigh the impact of the compromised system. If it's one where obviously you have the ability to just remove the system from your network and the data or information that would be lost would be have a minimal impact on the organization, then at that point I think that's the best route. But if you get into a situation where time is definitely of the essence, in cases like a hospital is taken over or some medical equipment is taken over, and you could potentially have either harm coming to people or loss of life, I think that definitely the possibility of paying needs to be discussed. As far as where the funds come from, that can be discussed and worked out as well. But I think it definitely depends on the impact. To be honest, I think that the people that are actually successful at executing a ransomware attack, especially on a larger scale, the skill required makes covering their tracks kind of par for the course. I think especially once you start incorporating VPNs and all this technology that can obfuscate your location and your IP address, then it really makes it difficult to track down the particular criminal in that case. So initially, we would do an assessment on the systems impacted and try to get an understanding of what data has been compromised, what our options are as far as regaining control of those systems and that data, and do a risk assessment on if we were to lose access to that data or it were to be exposed to the public, the confidentiality of it. That would be step one, just doing an initial assessment of the systems. Step two, assessing our resources, seeing if we have the ability to gain more information about the particular ransomware attack that they're using. What defenses did we have in place to prevent this? Can we isolate the system from the network? Work out those technical steps. And then after the event, going through and making sure that we do kind of reconnaissance and lessons learned, knowledge sharing, and also improving our defenses for the future. I think it's a very niche occupation right now, and I think that it's very fast paced. So you have people using zero-day exploits, even with the advent of AI now being incorporated into cyber attacks. I think the number of threat vectors that are out there makes it difficult to really spend time and invest money reverse engineering a particular attack to understand it better versus taking that time and energy into trying to just stay abreast of the new attacks and keep your systems up to date and keep your systems hardened. So the largest takeaways I got from the CEH definitely resided in how to sort of prevent those types of attacks and the things that hackers will be looking for when trying to execute a ransomware attack. So like I said, the social engineering aspect, those phishing emails, getting people inside of an organization who already have credentials on a network to grant someone from the outside access, or even just run something, a script or some sort of application that's malicious that will reach out and grant someone outside the network access to that network. That is probably the biggest defense mechanism that I picked up from CEH.